Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to this week's Productive Agent Podcast. My name is Tony Ruiz, and I'm the founder and host of the Productive Agent Podcast and Facebook group. Today, I'm joined by a great friend of mine and an amazing real estate agent, Val Sisson. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat with you. You blew me away with your numbers. I'm like, holy shit, she's on fire right now, and she's not stopping. I'll tell you that. So I'm really excited to pick your brain, because even though I've been in real estate longer than you have, you're obviously doing some incredible things, and I want to learn from you. So I look forward to it.
I'm super excited to be here and share what I can.
Yeah, absolutely. So Val spent 16 years as the Reagan High School head dance team director. That's kind of how we met. We were actually kind of competition, but obviously the Reagan High School has an incredible dance program. I was like, whoever's running that knows what they're doing and is super organized and super good at what they do. But she's been licensed since 2021. So she started in the summer of 2021 after she wrapped up her last year teaching. She is already a 2-time capper at eXp Realty. She capped in 3 months this year, had 7 closings in the last 30 days. Number 7 as an eXp individual agent here in San Antonio currently for this year, 2023, and was number 1 agent in April. Those are some amazing stats, and that's really awesome. Congratulations on all that.
Thank you so much.
Well, Val, tell us a little bit about your background, who you are, where are you from, where'd you go to school, what'd you do before real estate?
All right. Well, I was born in Puerto Rico. I've lived in San Antonio my entire life, basically. And I'm a very proud mother of 2 beautiful babies, and I have an incredible, very supportive husband. I was the dance director, like you said, at Reagan High School for 16 years. I loved every single moment. Those kids, those babies were my babies. They were my heart. And I think I told you earlier, I would have stayed there forever my entire life, but my babies at home needed me. I didn't see them a ton. As you know, the job requires lots of hours. Yep. And so I have an incredible mentor in Mark Chambers who had been talking to me about his career, and I really, thought, oh, maybe I'll do that on the side and whatnot, because I'm always ready to add things to my plate. But it turned out after pandemic, I think it was time to make that change for my family. And so I stepped away from Reagan, hardest thing I've ever done, because I love those babies. Those are my life. And I stepped away from them, got into real estate, and I absolutely love what I'm doing right now.
Well, it's obvious because you're killing it. So really, so the pandemic obviously threw a wrench in everything, all right? And I know a lot of teachers kind of left after the pandemic. Sure. Was there other things besides, you mentioned your family, you want to spend more time? That was definitely a pull for me. I hit 35 and I was like, okay, what's next? What can I do to be home more? Right. And that's really what kind of pulled you into the real estate game.
Yeah, I you can ask all of my friends. It was a shock to everybody, including myself, that I was going to make a change. I was going to be in that dance studio until my very last breath, I think. Yeah. And I loved the people that I worked with, the community that I worked with. I mean, I bled green, and maybe always will. But it was time because, I never got to spend a lot of time with my children. I only saw them asleep. Those are long hours. And, what teachers do on a, day in and day out is truly selfless. And they're building the future of the world. And I love what they do. I felt like I also needed to build my future a little bit and be with my children. And, they have odd hours for school. Who's taking them? They're my responsibility. They're my life. And I do everything for them. They're my heart. And so I made the change, and it was tough. But again, I think it was the right moment. My kids at school, I think, understood more than I thought they would, and have embraced their new coach, who's amazing. And I think everybody's in good hands. I still get to dabble here and there and consult and sure. That part of fine arts that I love, I still get to do. But I also feel like I'm helping people, build their families, finding their homes, their forever homes. And I still feel like I'm impacting in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's super cool. Did you know anything about real estate when you got into real estate?
No. Oh gosh, no. Yeah. We built our own home. My husband and I built our own home. It was the timing of how everything happened was really odd. You know, the week before the pandemic shut down the entire world, we got handed the keys to our brand new build.
Oh, wow.
It was, you know, and my kids were still really little. I mean, my son was just learning how to walk. It was a shock, you know, for everybody, but I didn't know much. I mean, I knew about building a house because we'd gone through it, and obviously we had purchased a home prior to that. And so that's basically all I knew. You know, do I love walking into houses and I, you know, going into my friends' houses and perusing? Absolutely. But did I know about real estate? Not really. No.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was the same way, and I didn't know anything, but I knew people that were in it, like Mark, you know, is a good friend of ours.
Absolutely.
And I was like, okay, well, you know, I could learn, you know, and so it's interesting how we did that. So you had a custom build. Did you go that route?
Yeah,
so
it
did
was
you
a
work with a
custom build.
realtor at all, or
No, it was a custom build. So we already owned the land.
Okay.
So we owned just under an acre in Castle Hills.
Okay.
And it was the best day of my life was when we completely demolished that house. I think it was my husband's worst day because he loved that house, and I was like, bye. I'm ready for something new. So they completely demolished the old house. We built with a custom builder on the piece of land, and literally got the keys right before the week before pandemic shut down the world.
And this was all before you had your real estate license, obviously.
All before,
right.
yes.
Yeah.
And so during that time is when I, you know, Mark and my really good friend Dan, he was like, you know, you should look into it, Val. You should look into it. It kind of wore me down, and I started taking the classes at night. I mean, I would teach full time during the day, and I felt like every single day. I know a lot of people did different things when they were teaching during pandemic, but I saw my kids every single day. I made them dance every single day because in my mind and my heart, I felt like they needed a connection. So if they were outside, they were in their garages, they were everywhere. And I saw them for an hour, and we moved every single day for an hour. So I would teach during the day, all of my classes. Wow. And I had my babies at home, so that was wild because they were little, and they don't just sit down and, you know, read a book yet. You know, they're tiny. They're learning how to walk and talk. So that was wild. And then at night I would take classes, and I would just stay up and plug away. And after I got my license, I decided I was going to stay in education for at least another year, get these kids through a transition that I thought could be very difficult, which turned out to be, to go from, you know, staying at home, learning, back onto the campus, and, you know, that transition, that social emotional, you know, transition that happened there. I decided I'm going to stay for another year, and then I'm going to really focus in after the year's over on real estate.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty admirable on all that. Where did you get your license? Online?
Yes. Yeah, it was all online. Champions. Yeah.
Champions
I love
online.
them. Yeah, absolutely. They helped me the entire way. It was self-paced. Absolutely loved that program.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that's how I did it. And it's a little tedious sometimes, but it's just like, hey, you got to knock it out, you know? So you went full time. You never went really part-time. A lot of people struggle with that and go, oh, maybe I'll dabble in it, do part-time. What gave you the confidence to just go cold turkey? I'm leaving this job that pays me with benefits and all that to I'm going to do it.
I'll tell you, I felt like I had a little bit of a buffer because I was in education, and I still had a little bit of a buffer through the summer.
Right.
And so I felt confident in that little buffer, but also, you know, Mark, my mentor, was just there every step of the way for me. I mean, I got my first contract the month that, you know, school let out. So my first contract was in June. Yeah. He was with me every step of the way. I felt like I had a really great support system. My sphere of influence, you know, knew what I was doing, and they supported me. So I felt like, you know what? I know me, and I'm not going to stop until it gets done. So, you know, let's go. I've got to go dive head first, and let's make it happen. And I did. Yeah. And for me, luckily, you know, it worked out really great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about those that first half a year.
Sure.
Really, you started in June.
Yep.
What did that look like? What were you doing then? And then we'll talk a little bit about what you're doing now and how that's evolved.
I mean, I think it's like drinking out of a water hose, like a fire hydrant, rather. You know, it was very overwhelming, and I felt like I was just making things up as I went, you know, and I didn't have a really good set game plan. And that's not me. If you know me, you know I like straight lines. I'm very type A. I like to have a plan. I like to have my, you know, my lists. But I didn't know what to expect. You know, that's the one thing between school, getting my license, and moving into the actual like reality of selling real estate and helping people, there's a little bit of a disconnect there. You have to learn as you go. And so I felt like my first several months was a lot of learning. One thing that I felt like I did well, I could have done a lot of things better, but one thing that I did really well, I feel like, is I surrounded myself with people that were way better than me, and I asked a lot of questions. And so I took classes, I asked a lot of questions, and I just kind of dove in and I started talking to people, and things, really worked out for me. And I feel like if you're not scared to put yourself out there and not scared to try something new, that's what holds people back, is not putting yourself out there, not that hesitation of I'm going to mess this up. Yeah, you are. But you're going to surround yourself with people that are going to help you pick up the pieces. EXP did that for me, and yes, we're in the cloud, we're online, whatever, but I had the most support than I've ever had in any career, and I had people not just in the cloud helping me. I had actual human bodies that would go to houses with me, explain things, sit down with me. I mean, I felt confident in that. And so I just dove right in, and there's a lot of, talking to people and making people feel comfortable with the fact that they knew me as a dance director, and now I was starting this whole new career. Is she really going to do it? Yeah. And I just committed, and I feel like it worked out for me.
Yeah, for sure. Did you have a plan with your social media? So I kind of struggle with that a little bit early on, and talk a little bit about that, because all these people that know you as your sphere, and they know you as 16 years as the dance coach.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it's like, well, we know that you haven't been practicing real estate, so why should we trust you on that?
Correct.
So how did you kind of spin that and go, this is what I'm doing now, and I'm going to be great at it?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I floundered a lot, especially at the beginning. And I'll tell you why, is because I spent 16 years of my life telling wonderful, smart, beautiful teenagers that they were wasting their time on social media. And so it was really hard for me, just as the type of person that I am, to then all of a sudden start using it the way that I needed to, because I felt like a hypocrite. I felt like my babies, these people that I'm supposed to, are trying to emulate me or maybe look up to me in some way, at least some of them, they're going to look at me and be like, what the heck? She told us we're wasting our time. But it's part of the job, and I used to tell them you can use it for good and not evil. And that's what I decided to do. At the beginning, I didn't use social media. I was, like I said, I didn't know what I was doing and how I was doing it. But then I started seeing other people's social media, and you start thinking, this is what I need to do. I need to put myself out there. People need to know this is what I'm doing now. This is who I am now. And so I did. And I feel like I have a really consistent social media. I still think there's tons of things that I can do to make it better, but I post every day. And part of it is things that I put together on Canva. I love that, that application. And part of it is I get help. And I pay somebody to help me with the social media, because that's not something I'm good at. I didn't do it forever. And I didn't do it forever because, I had this notion of you're wasting your time, and I had to walk the walk, and so, or walk the talk. And so, I get help, and I think it's worked out great for me, because I think it really does help people see, not only is she doing this, but she's good at this. So anything that I did that was positive, any contracts, I started putting it out there, and then people all of a sudden are like, okay, she's working, she's doing it, and now they trust. Yeah,
for sure. It's evidence of success.
Right.
We talk about it all the time, and it's like, you got to shout from the rooftops when you have those closings, when you have those listings or whatever that is, because then it gets people more confident with, hey, this person knows what they're doing.
And that's hard for me, because I don't like to boast about myself.
Right.
This is hard. Even this situation is hard. I don't like to do it. But you've got to prove that you're going to be, focused and good at what you're doing right now. And that was the only way to really get that out there without calling people and saying, hey, I'm pretty good at this now, So it worked out. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your real estate success. What would you accredit your success to so far?
Sure. I think about this every day. The God honest truth is there's no secret sauce. I think the one thing that all of us can do consistently is be organized as much as you can be. So that's going to look different for everybody. It's going to look real crazy for me because I'm type A. It's going to look different for everybody, and everybody can find their niche. As long as you are passionate about what you're doing and you can have some sort of an organizational, I don't know, pact with yourself, this is what I'm going to do and I'm going to do it consistently, I think you can be successful. I am good at some things and I might be lacking in others. I'm constantly working on the things that I'm lacking because I don't want to lack. I want to get stronger and better. But man, I pour myself into things that I'm good at. And I feel like I'm pretty good at making connections with people. So I really focus on making connections, not real estate connections, but just connections with people. I've really poured myself into that. Yeah. At my previous job, it was hard. I worked a lot of hours. Well, now this is my job. And so I'm reconnecting with people that I haven't spoken to in a long time. Later this week, I'm going to go to coffee with one of my best friends from high school that I haven't spoken to in years.
So talk to us a little bit about that, because I know that's a struggle for a lot of agents. It's like, how the heck did you reconnect with them? You haven't talked to them in years.
But I get on Facebook. I'll start asking questions. She's got kids I've never seen before, and her and I were inseparable our senior year, and we went through some things as leaders of our dance team, our senior year. And, there should have been a forever connection, but it's, life is hard.
Right.
So you start asking the questions, you see a post or you see something, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, I'm going to call you. And we've had some phone conversations. She just came back from Costa Rica. And I'm genuinely curious, My husband says Costa Rica is the best place on earth. I argue with him that it's New Zealand, whatever. So I want to know from her perspective how it went. And that is just, now it's like no time has ever passed.
Yeah.
But you have to feel confident. I don't call people and I don't make connections with people thinking about real estate. I am so happy that I get to finally reconnect with people because I have the time. Yeah. And if that leads to business, great. And if it doesn't, I don't care. That's fine. Yeah. But I trust in whatever they're doing in their life. I want to connect with them and I want to hear about that. And then eventually they're going to reciprocate. They're going to want to hear about what I'm doing too. And again, if there's a need there, we're going to meet it, because they know who I am. They trust who I am. And so it just works itself out. But that's, I feel like I'm good at that. I'm good at organizing. I want all of my clients to feel like they are number one, and that's where I pour myself in. Now, there's a lot of other things that we have to do as agents that people have no idea about. And I might hire for some of that, social media. I might hire, I might get help for other things because I want to get better. I want to learn. But for me, that's the secret sauce is find what you're good at and pour yourself into that. Keep learning, surround yourself with the best, and that's going to help you grow. But pour yourself into the things that you know you're good at.
Yeah, I like that. Would you say that you use Facebook, social media as a tool quite a bit to kind of, reconnect with some of those? So
I think with reconnecting, yes, I have such incredible people in my life. My sphere of influence is like absolutely my rock, and they are so wonderful to me. And of course I have my community that I taught at for, 16 years, and they have been so good to me. Now they know me on a different level, right? They know how organized I am. They know how, focused I can be. And so I think that gives them a little bit of peace to trust me. And I haven't failed them yet, knock on wood. And I won't, because that's my personality. I want everybody to be happy. And so I feel like that base of humans that I work with is really strong. I do use social media a lot to reconnect with people and just to, touch base with people. But I don't know. I think for the most part, for me, social media has been to tell people, this is what I'm doing now. I'm being fairly successful, right? Or really successful. I hate talking about myself. I don't know. But you know what I mean? I don't know that I'm sure there's a way, but I don't know that I get a lot of clientele from there. Maybe I do. I'd have to ask my clients to be like, is that what, is that why you trust me now? I'm not sure. But I definitely use that as a tool to kind of prove what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And, so that people know this is what I'm doing now.
So you talked a lot about organization and really kind of having a plan.
Right.
And like, this is what I do on a daily basis. And it sounds like you're very structured on that. And I know that's something that agents struggle with a lot. And I think that's why a lot of agents struggle in general is because they have all this freedom, and they don't like, oh, well, maybe I'll do it. Maybe I won't. Yeah. Oh, I'll do this other thing that's not really leading to business.
Right.
So talk to us a little bit, if you don't mind sharing, what your plan looks like on a daily or weekly basis. Kind of take us a day in the life of Val Sisson awesome agent?
Well, one thing I don't do is I don't take naps. I don't watch TV during the day. And that's really hard
Discipline.
because, and again, I don't have a brick and mortar that I go to. Yeah. I am I'm sitting at my desk, and to the left of me is my bed. And it's a really nice bed, you know? So it's hard, but not really. It's not really hard for me. It might be hard for some. So I don't do those two things. After I drop my kids off at school, it's work time. And I work until I pick them up, and then when they go to bed, I work again. That's my personality. Mm-hmm. So everybody's going to be a little bit different, but I do structure my day quite a bit. I don't really touch work. I want to be in a place where I get up really early, the 4 o'clock, 4 to 5 a.m. range. I'm not quite there yet. But when I do wake up, I drop my kids off at school, and then it's time to go. And the first thing I like to do is connect with people. Okay. And it's hard because that's during the workday. And so there's, it's hard to connect with at least the people that I know. I know a lot.
Is that phone call, text, messages?
Any of it, right?
Okay.
So I will send messages. I'll make phone calls to the people that I know, can answer, because I know, again, a lot of teachers and, but I try to connect with people. I will then look at my to-do list, and this is odd for some people, but my to-do list is on my email. So even if, I'm hanging out with somebody and they say, oh, I need to, look at whatever, XYZ, I get on my phone, I send myself an email, and I prioritize, I flag things in my email. And once they're done, once that item is done, I put it in a folder, and then it's gone. So my email stays at between 35 emails to, 60 emails every day. It'll grow to like 150, but I cannot go to sleep if that's not down to 35 to 60 emails. Some are pending, right? Because I've got contracts that are up in the air, and I want to keep those, in my inbox. But I'll check my to-do list, my email, and I prioritize what needs to happen now. I'll call title companies, mortgage companies, try to make sure that the communication piece is, put together. And I put everything on my calendar. And I'll tell you, I just had an experience where I didn't put something on my calendar and I missed it. It wasn't real estate related. I was supposed to go to a dance show with my daughter, and I missed it because I didn't put it in the calendar. So I try to put everything on my calendar and kind of break my day down that way.
Yeah, if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't get done.
Does not get done.
Or it gets forgotten about, and it's like, oh, missed that.
Yeah, so even something easy, like I'm going to mow the lawn for my husband and surprise him. I put that on my calendar. Everything I do, I try to put on the calendar because I'll get busy with something else. So I kind of time block that way.
Yeah.
And I'm not super structured like some people can be super structured. They really time block well. I have, kind of points of things that I need to get done. And so it's a little bit broad. I'll give myself a certain amount of time. But then when that time's over, I'm moving on to the next thing.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You are super driven, and it's funny how we've known each other for years. Sure. And obviously we've gotten closer now that we're in real estate and we talk more often. But like, you are super hungry. I can tell your energy and your passion about it. And it's like, one of the things that I always think about is my fear of success, and getting to a point where it's like, oh my God, I'm overworking. Yeah. And I think I definitely felt that in my past career. Yeah. And maybe you have as well. And you're like, I don't want to burn myself out. But I do want to grow and maximize what I can do. Do you have like a vision of what that is, when that might be? What's your ultimate goal?
I don't have a ceiling for myself. I never have, I never will. For me, what I taught for 16 years and how I live my life is I reach my potential every day. So there's not this perfect end game where if these things happen, I can slow down. I think I'll never slow down, even if I'm not selling real estate forever, right? There's a lot of things that I, could do as far as forming a team. And, I think I'll always coach. I think I'll always, be busy. It's in my personality. My mom's the same way. She's still working. My dad's retired. She's still working. She loves it. I love it. I love working. It gives me life,
What does she do?
She is actually the office manager for Airstrip Technologies.
Okay.
And office manager and secretary for Airstrip Technologies, and she's probably the best paid office manager I've ever seen and heard of. But she's. Yeah.
She works for it.
They can't function without her. They love her, and because she does the things, and I find myself, my husband will tell me that all the time. You're just like your mom in that way. I like to work. I love to work. I love to help people. I don't know that it'll change. It'll morph into something else. I want to spend a lot of time with my family. I want to go on trips. I want to do those things. But I think I'll always be working, for something else. There's not an end game for me. I say I reach my potential every day. So what can I do today to maximize the day to make it the best that it can be, right? And that's hard to do. Sometimes I probably do overwork. I don't see it that way, but probably on paper and how it looks, to probably, do that to myself. But I really enjoy it, and as long as my family is happy and I make time for them in my schedule, and my husband and my family, then I think it's okay to work as hard as I work, and I've got a great friend whom Dan Morrison, who always says, happy, not satisfied. And that's basically the same thing. I am very happy right now. I love this. Last month has been super successful. I've been very busy. I've learned a ton, made lots of really great connections, but I'm not satisfied. I want to keep pushing myself, and I want comfort for my family, and I want to reach what's the next level for me. I don't know yet, but I'm going to keep working until I figure that out, and maybe it's, getting an incredible downline who I can coach, and I can maybe do a little less selling of real estate and more coaching. Great. That might be the future. It might not be, who knows? But I'm just going to keep pushing myself, and it's just in my personality to do it.
All right. Well, you're one of a kind for sure. So congratulations on all of your success. And
Thank you.
I'm excited to be partnered with you and, be close to you and learn from you, and that's really what's cool about our group is we all learn from each other. Mark has certain strengths, you have certain strengths, I have certain strengths, and it's just awesome to bounce things off each other. You obviously are very self-motivated. You don't need a whole lot of motivation or an external push. You're like, no, I'm going to be the best.
Yeah.
So you're well on your way. So congratulations.
Thank you, Tony. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, is there any takeaway that you want the listener to, take away from this, one or two things that you go, I want to drive this point home and make sure that people take this away? Sure.
The idea of reaching your potential to me is the most powerful thing that while I was coaching, I learned. When I first went into coaching, I was like young. I was really young. Reagan was my first job. It was my only job. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to win. I wanted to be the best. And the idea of that's awesome, except there's always going to be somebody, there always could be somebody that's going to work a little harder, that have, a better year. If the W is the end game for you, you're going to find disappointment, I think. This is my opinion.
Sure.
But if reaching my potential every day and hitting that goal happens, then even without the W, I feel super satisfied because there's nothing else I left on the court, right? There's nothing else I could have done. And so that gives me a lot of peace. And so I'm going to have a really great month, right? This last month was amazing for me, right? Yeah. And I, oh man, I'm so blessed. I have the best clients in the whole entire world. Next month might not be as great. I don't know. I'm going to try for it to be as great, but I don't know. But I'm going to keep pushing myself in that direction. I'm going to, keep trying. And if I reach my potential next month, then I'm going to be super satisfied with whatever the outcome is. And I feel like, to me, internally, that is the W. So one, the most important thing is don't compare yourself to others. Reach your potential, do what you can do, find what you're really good at, and pour yourself into that. Continue to learn. You want to sharpen, all of the tools in your shed, but definitely hone in on that, because that's going to be the moneymaker for you. That's going to be what's going to make you successful, or in my belief. And then, I don't know, get organized. If you don't know how to get organized, reach out to people that can help you. There's so many tools, that I use that help me. Same tools might not help you, but they could. So ask people, figure out what time blocking might not be your thing. It might never be your thing, but there is something else that can keep you on track that'll be helpful. And maybe that's a coach, maybe that's a human and not, application. For me, an application's enough,
Yeah.
So I would say those things is, think about reaching your potential every day, find what you're really, really good at and pour yourself into that. Continue sharpening all the tools, but pour yourself into that and go get organized. That's my focus for whoever's listening.
I love it. No, that was a great message. So, if the listeners want to reach out to you and get a hold of you, how can they do that?
They can email me at valeria.sisson@exprealty.com. That's valeria.sisson@exprealty.com, or they can call me 210-643-1677. Happy to share.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you have social media. We talked a little bit about that.
Social media, I made such poor decisions when I made up my name, but you can try to find me at Valeria_Sisson_RE_agent. Anyway, my face will pop up, but you look it up or go through Tony. He's friended me on social media.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
It was a pleasure.
Guys, I hope you got a lot out of that. I know I did. I hope you took some notes, rewatch this. If you got a great value of it, give us a like, give us a share. Do you know other agents that could take something away from this? Share the show. Leave us a review, leave us a rating. That really helps us grow the show and impact others. If you want to join our private Facebook group, I highly recommend it, called The Productive Agent. And you can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We thank you for joining us today. Now let's get out there and go produce.